scar this little cub for life. And we would hate to do that. We want all the leopards in this area to be completely relaxed with our presence, as if we're not even there. And what that takes is gently and slowly getting them used to the sound of my voice, or our voices rather, not my voice in specific. Also the sound of the vehicles, the presence of the vehicles. So definitely think the spot we're in here is quite good, but obviously not for a good view. I'm told you guys have been having a wonderful time with Ralph and some elephants, and that is where you're going to be heading straight back to.
Yes, thanks, Scott. And these elephants have just moved away from us a little bit, but they're still walking and feeding, eating some grass. It's nice there behind the waterhole. I'm sure at some stage they're going to come for a drink. But this looks like all boys here. There's no girls here. You know, the elephants, they like to go off. The boys all like to go in a little gang off on their own, and they leave all the girls and the youngsters by themselves. Now look at this big elephant. Looks like he might want to be going for a scratch. I'm not sure if he's going towards that tree for a scratch. Look at that big fat bottom, hey? That's the elephant. And look how wrinkly his skin is. His skin is very thick. It's about an inch thick. It's almost as thick as a matchbox if you had to turn it on its side. So they don't feel things the same way we do. Elephants can walk past thorns and not get hurt. Now, Genesis, you're asking the question, how do elephants grow so big? Well, Genesis, that's something that is determined by their mom and dad, because they're born with those big bones that will grow into the big animal that they are, but they do need to eat lots of food. They need to eat lots of grass, lots of leaves, and lots of branches every single day, and they need to also drink a lot of water. And then they need to get lots of sunshine and lots of exercise, and they grow big and strong like the rest of their family, just like all of us need to. But us as people, we also grow normally as big and strong as our parents, or a mix of that, and it's very much the same with elephants, you see. So very interesting little stories about elephants. There's so much to talk about, and I'd love to get some more questions from you guys, and we'll answer them as best we can. But I think I'm going to move on a little bit. We do have a lovely view from up here. We've gone a little bit up the mountain, and as you'll see when I turn around here, we're going to start to go down, and you can see how the trees are dotted around in the grass. Look at that. We've got some clouds coming in, so it does make things a little bit cooler, and we have been having afternoon thunderstorms, so maybe we're going to get some more rain again a little bit later this afternoon. Okay, so we're driving down. We're going to go and see what else we can find. Hopefully we can get something exciting. But I want to send you all the way back down south to South Africa, because Scott is still with the leopard, and I'm sure he's got all sorts of exciting things to talk about.
Hello everyone. As you can see, this leopard has now moved out of her hiding place, and I'm hoping her cub is going to come along with her. She has been calling very gently, obviously possibly telling it to stay behind. I'm guessing that is the command she was giving to the young cub. But who knows, maybe it's a little rebel and it's going to come out and show us its face. But hard to be certain. What's also hard to be certain is the state of her hunger. Now, what is going on? Are you Thandi? I hope you are Thandi. I'm guessing you are. But you see, even how she's trying to bury something now, she's trying to bury the kill, but this is absolutely ludicrous. Thandi, why did you get to a point where you actually had to bury anything at your den sites? Now, her spots definitely don't look to be shadows. The spot patterns above her whisker check because of the fact that she was chewing on something in there, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Watch very closely. You may see her communicating with her little cub. I doubt you'll be able to hear it, but it's a kind of soft whimpering grunt. Oof, oof, oof. Something like that. And I'm guessing that is her telling the cub that it's time for her to head off and go and look for some dinner, and you must just tuck yourself away as deeply as you can into... Oh, there's the cub at the top. Quickly, Sensor, to the right of the tree. How incredible is this? Look at how cute it is. Can you believe this? How cool. It's calling back to its mom. Yeah. This is absolutely incredible. We got the best view imaginable. I really didn't think that was going to happen, but I'm so happy it did. A cute little courageous cub playing so far away from its mom. And it'll be interesting to see what happens when it sees us. I'm pretty sure it's not too focused on us at this stage, but it'll probably stop in its tracks, and who knows, maybe it's coming to have a closer look at us. How incredibly cute is this? And I'm sorry we're going to have to say goodbye to all the school kids that joined us. It's been great having you with us and answering your questions, and you couldn't have got any luckier. If I was you, I would beg your teacher dearly to keep watching, as I'm sure you're already doing. And look at how cute it is. Oh my word. Its eyes are still a little bluey color, and it's absolutely tiny. Look at how short its little legs are. Well done, little cub. I'm so happy you brave. And give us an incredible view of you. That was far better than I could have ever imagined or hoped for. Thandi, thank you for being such a good mom and relaxed with us here. We are very happy that you're doing a great job in raising that little cub. Whew, my heart is racing. That was incredible. I'm still a little bit perplexed as to what Thandi was chewing on earlier. I can't get that out of my head. But we will let it slide for the very reason. Now, I don't know what you guys think, but I think it will definitely be worth inviting a Facebook audience to join us, because if that little cub comes out again, I think we've got a strong chance of gathering a few more members onto the Safari Live family, and I think we really should try and share this with as many people as physically possible. Who knows, maybe the cub's not going to come out again, but I think it's a risk worth taking. I'm just going to keep quiet for a second, just before we introduce everyone on Facebook. Hello everyone on Facebook. We are welcoming you to a leopard's den site. You can see the mother there. She's been tucked away, hidden in a small cave under a fallen down tree. And about a minute ago, there you can see the fallen down tree. About a minute ago, we got a visual of her tiny 6-week-old cub. It was just kind of up there, up above the bank that she's down below on. And we are hoping dearly that we get another view of this tiny, cute, little fluffy cub. I think we might be able to get lucky now, but we have to be very, very sensitive. We don't want to put any pressure on this mother. She can be protective, understandably. Possibly thinking about heading out to go and get herself a meal. So she's possibly saying goodbye to her little cub for the evening, or at least until she secures herself a meal. Now we do have to just be patient. I strongly urge you guys to stick around if you want to see them. It is definitely actually the smallest leopard cub I've ever seen. And we are hugely lucky to be sitting here. We are coming to you 100% live from the Sabi Sands in South Africa. And pop any questions you have in the comment box below, and I will get through as many of them as I possibly can. Now I must just reiterate, we are going to be extra sensitive due to the fact that she does have a tiny little cub here. So as tempting as it is to try and drive the vehicle around and get different views, we are not going to take any chances. We also want to make sure that, just like this cub's mother, she too, or he too, will be relaxed with our presence when he or she grows up. Because ordinarily leopards are incredibly shy and elusive animals. So for us to be allowed this close into her den site is testament to... Oh, there's the cub! Oh, it's still got tiny little blue eyes. You give it a good clean, Mom. Take a seat there, please, and then hopefully the cub will come back again. Now this little cub seems to be a little bit of a rebel. It's moving around quite a lot. I certainly didn't. Now, it looked like her mother was kind of choking there, but it was actually chuffing. It's a form of communication where leopards kind of exhale at a high rate. And she was talking to her little cub. I'm not sure exactly what she was saying. Hello, Lovemore. You're watching in Zimbabwe. It's wonderful to have you with us. And thank you for letting us know. Now, Senzo's doing an incredibly good job on camera here. It's delicate business, focusing from the distance we're at when there's so much thick undergrowth. This is so cool. Now, this is the second time we've ever actually got a view of this little cub. And yes, Karen, this is definitely the smallest, youngest little leopard cub I've ever seen. Where's Mom taking it now? It may be that she's bringing it out a little bit closer to us. I hope that is the case, because we're going to get some great views if it is. I think the little cub's just at her feet. Uh-oh, Mom. Now, obviously that was a little snarl. It was directed at us, but we're going to stay put where we are. I think it's just the fact that she's actually come closer to us, as opposed to us moving closer to her. But it was a small display of her kind of thoughts about us. She's been fine with us the whole afternoon until now. And what's happening now is very interesting. She appeared to be feeding on something here, and it looks like she's actually trying to cover up whatever she was feeding on to make sure that there's no scent left behind. There's a little cub again, more than scents. And was absolutely flabbergasted by the fact that she was chewing on something at a den site. It certainly doesn't make any sense, because of course that could attract any possible threats like other leopard, lion and hyena, the scent of blood. So I'm guessing and hoping that it was just an opportunistic kill of something that possibly slithered through the den like a snake, or possibly a small bird that simply provided her with an easy meal. Hard to be certain though. Tommy, you would like to know how long have I been sitting here waiting for her to come out, and for an hour now, and for about an hour before our live safari actually started. So before we invited all of you guys on Facebook to join us, we were kind of midway through one of our standard 3-hour afternoon broadcasts, and we just couldn't resist inviting all of you guys on Facebook to join in on this incredible scene. Kelly, you would like to know last day, which is a huge relief, because at this time of the year in the low veld of South Africa, it can be scorching hot with high levels of humidity and temperatures reaching into the high 90s Fahrenheit. Earl, you would like to know how old is this female leopard that has given birth to this wonderful little cub, and she's 11 years old at the moment. Her life has been quite well followed, and interestingly, she's moved into her mother's territory. Her mother was a female leopard called Kruger, and we encompassed our camp and our property, but sadly it seems like her mother died a few months ago, and now not only Thandi, this leopard here, but also her sister, a female leopard called Shadow, is moving into this area where her mother used to reign dominance. Tommy, you would like to know if this leopard would bring the cub food. No, she certainly wouldn't and shouldn't, and now that's why she's continuing to try to cover whatever it is she was feeding on, possibly thinking to herself, asking herself, why did I do that silly thing and have a snack at the den? And Tommy, for the first 3 months of a leopard's existence, they will rely entirely on meat and continue to drink milk, but also start feeding on meat. But this cub's only about 5 or 6 weeks old. We're not entirely sure exactly how old, but 5 or 6 weeks is, we feel, an accurate guesstimate. And ordinarily what will happen now is she will go away from the den, possibly 2 or 3 miles away, in search of food, make a kill, feed on it, come back to the den, feed the cub, go back to the kill. So it can be a very tricky time for a mother leopard, looking after a cub, looking after herself, finding meals. There's a lot going into her day at the moment. I'm so happy we are having the best sighting we've ever had of this little cub. Now, Robert, you would like to know if this leopard is aware of our presence. 100%. She would have known we were coming long before we even got here. She would have heard the vehicle. Their senses are incredibly acute. And once or twice you did let off 1 or 2 snarls, but it's not uncommon for leopards to do that from time to time, just to say, hey, you stay where you are. If she give us any further signs, we would slowly move out of the area. But for now, she's aware we are here, but kind of oblivious to us. A lot of the leopards in this area have spent a lot of time in and amongst game viewing vehicles like this, so they've been exposed to them from when they're little cubs, just like this little cub is being exposed to us now, and that is what causes them to be relaxed with our presence. As I said that, I thought she was going to give us another snarl there. Mary, you'd like to know if she only had 1 cub and if that's normal. I highly doubt she only gave birth to 1 cub. She in all likelihood gave birth to 2 or 3. That's kind of a more standard litter size, but the mortality rates of these tiny little furballs as they pop out is very, very high. Now, for the first 10 days to 2 weeks of a leopard's existence, it is completely blind and fairly helpless. It's just like a little worm rolling about on the ground. And that is why their mortality rate is so high. There's so many different predators that can feed on these little cubs. Dawn, you would like to know what predators exactly would feed on a young leopard cub. Pythons, birds of prey, other snakes that aren't even as big as pythons, hyenas, male leopards, a female leopard who doesn't belong here. And when I say male leopards, it's male leopards that are not the father of these cubs. So rogue males moving through the area will kill cubs that they did not father in the hope that they will then be able to shack up with the mother. Lions will also kill leopard cubs, so there's a large amount of possible predators that will feed on them. Who knows, even small mongooses will possibly feed on them. Oh, some good views. It looks like the cub's urging mom not to go away or possibly to play with it. Hopefully we'll see it latching onto the end of mom's tail. It's one of their cubs. Eileen, yes, the smell of whatever she was feeding on will certainly, or possibly, attract other predators to the scene, and that's why we did see her trying her best to cover the remains of whatever that kill was with some sand a bit earlier. I must commend Senzo again on some great camera work, because everything as they move through this very, very thick undergrowth. Inviting you all onto this live broadcast that we weren't going to see any more visuals of the cub, but look at that, it's practicing its climbing in the process of, I think, trying to latch onto mom's tail. And it's important to remember that within the next 6 weeks, this little cub will be going to kills, which means it's going to be exposed to the likes of hyena, lions, and other predators. So it's imperative that it can climb up, because that is one of the leopard's best defense mechanisms. Being great climbers, they can often escape their threats by clambering up trees, and it looks like this little cub is doing just that right now. Now, I must reiterate, this is by far the best sighting we have ever had of this tiny little cub, and we have spent many, many hours checking in on the den sites, relocating the den sites as they've been moved. There have been 3 confirmed different den sites in the last 6 weeks. Hello, Swagger Lee. You would like to know if this is a leopard or a jaguar, and it is a leopard. Leopards and jaguars can be confused because they look quite similar, but jaguars only occur in South America, and they are far larger than leopards. They also look a bit more kind of thuggish, I think it's fair to say, than a leopard. Their heads and facial expressions are not as petite and beautiful as that of a leopard. They look a bit more like a gangster leopard, you could say. And we are in South Africa, which is another good way to know that this is in fact a leopard, not a jaguar. The only jaguars you would see in South Africa were ones that do not belong here. Now, I also think from time to time we may see her snarling, and I think it's possibly also in frustration of this little cub possibly playing around with her. I have seen on many accounts not only leopard but also lions snarling and hissing at their cubs when they don't take their necessary commands. Maybe she's telling that little cub to go to sleep and the cub's not taking that as an option. Hello, Deanna. You'd like to know if the fact that this leopard's sister is also moving through this general area from time to time could possibly be a threat to this little cub, and yes, it certainly could. She could well kill her sister's offspring, and it would work both ways. So it's something that I've never seen happen before, and I'm sure it hasn't been documented on too many accounts, but there is a good likelihood that even if this leopard came across a sister, they would fight over the territory. Maybe the fact that they are sisters mean they wouldn't fight as ferociously as a female leopard would fight with one that she doesn't know as well. But I'm fairly confident that by the time they come adults, it's kind of every leopard for themselves. They are solitary cats, like most of the cats on the planet, and they will do whatever it takes to make sure they get the necessary territory and dominance over that territory. Now, I must reiterate, if any of you have just joined on, we are coming to you 100% live from South Africa, from an incredible reserve. And this is the first quality sighting that we are having of this leopard and her tiny little cub. Now, what could be happening is, at some point in time, this leopard could head off in search of a decent meal. She will have to leave the den, sometimes for hours on end, while she tries to secure herself a meal. And as much of a risk it is leave the cub here unattended, there is quite a large cave that the cub can kind of tuck itself away into, out of harm's way, and as long as it lays there hidden, it shouldn't come into any trouble. And a massive thanks to all of you that are expressing your gratitude for this incredible scene of a mother leopard with her cub. Here it comes again, Sense. Now we might get our best views yet. Hello, little Bubba. Yes, look at that. And this is so important, because not only are we getting great views of this cub, but we are slowly habituating it to vehicles. And if a leopard is not habituated to a vehicle, it will be like a ghost in the night. You will see their tracks, you will hear them call, but you will never see them. And this area that we're in at the moment is renowned for leopard viewing, and that is because over about 50 years, people have been spending time very gently getting the leopards and their cubs used to vehicles. And it requires a lot of skill. The trackers that manage to keep track of these animals by following their footprints and leading us to their den sites. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into moments like this being shared with you, and it is a massive privilege to be sitting here with all of you whilst these magical scenes unfold. Misty, you'd like to know how many hours will this cub spend sleeping every day? And I'm guessing it'll spend probably around 16 to 20 hours of sleep. Most cats sleep, even the adults, for many hours a day. But you may find that the cub is fast asleep while the mother is away hunting. Then the mother gets back and wants to have a snooze, and the cub's obviously all playful and excited to see mom. So I think that's where the kind of complications will come in for mom, in that she'll be spending a lot of time awake trying to secure meals, keeping this cub entertained, and therefore she is going to be a little bit tired, I guess it's fair to say. Is the cub practicing its climbing again? It looks like it's going back up what looks like an almost vertical log, and good testament to how sharp its little claws must be already. Debbie, you would like to know if there's anything that this young little cub would hunt at this age. And yes, I think definitely a little grasshopper or a lizard would be the perfect prey to start practicing her pouncing or his pouncing techniques. It's still too difficult to tell whether this is a young boy or a girl, but in the next few weeks we will be able to uncover that mystery. But yes, anything small, even a dung beetle rolling a ball of dung past would be something that would catch this cub's attention. And just like domestic cats, anything kind of fluffy or moving quickly away from them will trigger the chasing mechanism. Now, Dale, you would like to know if we've named this leopard yet, this little cub, and no, we haven't. At some point we will, though, but it'll just be kind of a fun name. The reason being is that it's still too small to kind of become too attached to, and ordinarily all the guides in this area will only name a leopard once it has left its mother's care, and that's usually at around 18 months of age. So in the next few weeks, possibly, I think Tristan, who found this den site, first of all, the initial den site, not this one, because they've moved 3 times, but I think Tristan will have the honors of making up the name, but it'll just be our Safari Live name, rather than calling it Thandi's Cub all the time, because we do spend so much time with these animals day in and day out. It does make sense for us to name them prematurely, you could say. But then once, hopefully, it survives and goes its own way, all the guides in this area will come up with a name. My name, by the way, is Scott Dyson, and it's great to have you on board. I'm teamed up with Senzo on camera. There's his 3-finger signature. Let's take a look and see if we've got any further sign of this little leopard and her mother. It looks like, though, that the mother may have headed back into the cave. There's no further sign, and basically to the right of the screen, we are guessing this kind of embankment along the edge of this riverbed, there must be a bit of a cave network, because even the mom has disappeared entirely out of our view in there a couple of times, and often we've come here just assuming that mom's not here, but she must have actually been deeply hidden away in the cave. Now, what I'm hoping is that the mom will come out once she's tucked the cub away and head off hunting. There's no guarantees, though, and we certainly are going to stick around, but we're going to say goodbye to all of you guys after I've answered Cindy's question. One last question from Cindy. You would like to know, how often are we live? We are live twice a day for 3 hours a day on average, in the morning and in the evening. So if you check out Safari Live on YouTube or on Facebook, you will find YouTube's probably a good option. It'll tell you when we will next be going live, and it's very, very easy to follow on. We urge you to. We love to have as many people on board the largest safari vehicle on the planet. What an incredible sighting it's been. Because the leopard has disappeared away, we will say goodbye to you. If you would like to continue watching, like I say, you can go onto YouTube and follow us there and find out what is going to happen next. But for everyone on Facebook, bye for now. Okay, everyone, so I had to keep, there's this funny random silence that we have to, for some reason, keep quiet for like 30 seconds. Oh, well done, Sens. Looks like they're coming up into another good spot here. But yes, just to fully explain myself, we have to just keep quiet after we've said goodbye to Facebook. Don't ask me why, but that is why I did keep quiet. And it seems like our luck is not over yet. I can hear a few branches breaking. It sounds like some elephants are moving through the scene. They actually are, but they're quite far away, so I don't think they're going to cause any trouble. And ordinarily, I don't think leopards are going to provide a tiny little leopard like this tucked away in its den any issues at all. I hope it keeps coming up to the spot where we first saw it, because it was definitely most out in the open there. There it comes. Woohoo! I cannot believe it's come up onto the same level as us again, and I hope it takes a few exploratory steps towards us. You keep coming. Come and say hello. Now, do we go live on Facebook again or not? That is the question. Tricky one. I'm concerned that it's just going to turn around and go straight back, and then we're going to, I think we'll keep this treat for our devoted Safari Live followers. Hey, don't go too far. What are you doing? Hey, this is definitely a little rebel. Can you believe it? Thandi, where are you? You should be following this little cub more closely. No, I can't believe how far it's going away from the den. But again, I haven't been lucky enough to spend a huge amount of time in and around leopard den sites in the 10 years that I've been in this industry. Well, have you got another hiding spot in the log there? I think it's possibly not a bad thing for it to explore all of its getaway points around this area. And I guess like to the real deal. Hyenas, lions, kills, chaos really. So I guess you can't have them wrapped up in cotton wool for too long, otherwise when they do hit the streets they're going to have no idea of what's going on. I can't believe how far it's venturing off. I'm astounded, actually. Is it still going? Thandi, call him or her back. I'm getting worried now. It's too far. You've probably found Thandi's just parked off in the cave having a snooze. Couldn't agree more with you. This little cub is absolutely precious. It's one of the most precious things I think my eyes have ever laid eyes on. It is, without a doubt, actually. Imagine how cute that thing would be to hold in your hands, even though we should never want to do that. But I guess it's human instinct to want to cuddle things that are cute. But it's very important that on that topic I emphasize that wild animals should not be in our hands at any given point of ours or their lives. So try and avoid situations like that if you can. And I believe very strongly in that. If somebody wants to rehabilitate them or look after them, that's fine. They just don't need to be cuddled along the way. That, in my opinion, is a money-making racket. So, what to do? I cannot believe that this little cub has moved so far, but there are some think for now we can possibly send you off to some other safari vehicles which are also out. If any of you have just joined in, it's not just myself out here. Tristan's also out, as well as Ralph, and possibly Taylor still as well. Now, Sanka, you would like to know if anything happened to this little leopard cub. Would we try and help it out? No, not unless it was a human that caused the trouble with the cub. Then I would give him a kung fu chop. But if something happened, a wild animal came in, or a hyena or another leopard, we just have to sit and spectate. Our job here is to be spectators and not interfere, unless of course a human comes in and then you hiya kung fu chop. But it's unlikely that a human's going to come and do anything. So yeah. Now, we are not going to go anywhere. We're going to stay put, and as soon as that little fluffy furball comes back into the scene, we will rush you back. For now, you've got another spotted cat with Tristan.
Indeed we do. So from mother and cub to the presumed father, the spots that are in the tree with a dangling carcass is not Imvula like I was talking about this morning, but is indeed Tingana. Now underneath him is also one of the uncles for that little cub, and no, not her brother, but little Hosana is down at the bottom. We can't see him at the moment. He was moving around in the bottom there just now, but he can't see him. He's busy sleeping, and as you can see, Tingana is also fairly fast asleep as well, with what looks like a female impala carcass that he's eaten quite a bit of already. But for any of you that were worried as to whether Tingana is able to move, that goes to show right there that if he can climb a tree and get to food like that, then his paw is definitely on the mend, which is exciting stuff. Now, before we go any further, I'm just super excited that because of all the people that have kind of joined me in trying to look for Thandi, I think Scotty's put in the most work out of all of us, and so he really did deserve to see it, and I'm excited that he got such an amazing visual. Actually, Ferg and I were watching the live broadcast from here because we're right near Chitwa, and so we get good signal on our cell phone so we can watch what's going on, and it was so cool to see. That little cub is amazing, and Scotty had the most epic sighting, so I'm super happy for him. Like I say, he thoroughly deserves it, and Senzo too. Senzo has been with me through countless leopard sightings, and I know he enjoys them. He used to be a lion-only man, but we're slowly but surely starting to convince him, which is good news. But you can see Tingana is just facing us. Every now and then his eye opens because this hardy-dar that is shouting at him and Hosana, the two of them are obviously causing this hardy-dar to be a little on the upset side, so lots of shouting there, which is just making Tingana kind of pop his head up every now and then. But he looks very happy and very comfy with himself, and I'm sure he's absolutely delighted to be having a meal. But there you can see it's definitely him now that he lifts his head like that. That is the typical Tingana face, that kind of elongated face, and then, you know, the way that he just, I don't know, there's something about him that just indicates Tingana when I see him. Interestingly enough though, he seems to be super tolerant of Hosana. Now, I know he's got a kill, and he's lying on top of it, but I haven't seen him once growl. Hosana has been moving around at the bottom, and he hasn't at all made any noise or done anything to indicate that he's upset that Hosana is actually even anywhere nearby. It's an amazing relationship that Hosana is somehow managing to try and kind of figure out with Tingana, and the fact that Tingana is being so sort of allowing, I don't know what the word is, relaxed with Hosana is pretty incredible. Mia, you're wondering when Tingana made this kill. Uncertain. It looks like he's eaten quite a bit, so I'm not 100% sure. He was spotted this morning with this kill, so whether or not it was last night or yesterday, I can't be sure. He seems to have eaten something. What is interesting is that there was also tracks for a female here, so I have a theory that maybe Kuchava was here, and theoretically maybe he stole it from her, because her tracks apparently are going up and down. I've heard some guinea fowl alarm calling a little bit further to the east of us, and so maybe he stole it from somebody else. Maybe he made it himself. Like I say, very difficult to say, and we're quite far away. They're quite deep inside Torchwood, so this is the closest we can get to where they are, and it's difficult to say how much meat is actually on that carcass. I mean, I can see a neck and I can see two legs, but the legs have definitely been fed upon, and so I don't know how much of the rest of the body is actually been eaten. Hosana himself only arrived just south of the boundary, slowly moving northwards towards this area. So he's not the one that killed it and Tingana stole it. It's more a situation, either a female killed it or he it maybe a day or two ago and is fed off it. I know that he was seen 2 days ago on Little Gari, and so it's got to have been either last night or the night before. It can't be before that, because where he was seen was quite far from this area. Also, that meat looks as though it's fairly fresh. There's a nice red tinge to it, which yesterday was quite warm and windy, would have probably dried that out a little bit, and you would have seen something like what we saw with the Impala kill. Mystic Gohan, you're saying, is Tingana still tolerating Hosana? Well, evidently yes. The fact that Hosana is sitting at the bottom of a tree while Tingana sits there and sleeps is pretty tolerant, if you ask me. There's no aggression whatsoever. If somebody like Quarantine came here, or Anderson, or that new male, I can tell you that Tingana's reaction would be far different. He wouldn't just sit up there sleeping. He would be growling, he would be hissing, there would probably be a lot of salivating, because he would realize very quickly that that would be a major threat to him, whereas in this particular situation, he doesn't have to worry at all. I think he knows Hosana is still a younger cat, and that he doesn't have to be too stressed about it, and that's why he allows it to happen. At the end of the day, Hosana is still much smaller than Tingana, and is also not marking as much, and just doesn't pose the same threat. But somewhere in there, he moved off a little bit to the right, I believe, so the guys that were there said he was at the base, and then just moved slightly right into that thicket, and is lying down somewhere there, so he's just in the base there somewhere. Well, maybe we'll get a visual of him just now, but the fact that Tingana is sitting there not growling going is a good indication that he is fairly tolerant of his son at this stage, which is amazing to me, because it's not like Hosana is with a mother. It's not like Hosana is not a small leopard. Not a small leopard. He's getting bigger, and he is scent marking, and so I would have thought Tingana would have been a lot more kind of aggressive in his approach, but as you can see, he's absolutely fine with what's going on. In fact, he's more interested in us than he seems to be looking down at the leopard below where he's sitting. So interesting behavior. It will be interesting to see how it all plays out. I feel like at some point Tingana is going to put his foot down. The lack of a mother to protect Hosana, and the way that he is so brazen on kills, maybe that's the secret. Maybe because Hosana is just so brazen, Tingana just doesn't really know what to do. Maybe if Hosana started to cower and started to try and sneak away, maybe that would make Tingana chase him. Difficult to say. Joy in Hong Kong, you're asking if we can please see Hosana. Like I just explained, that we are south of Torchwood, and so that is a property we cannot go into. That is an area that we do not have traversing, and so at the moment I'm sitting on the boundary and I have a very long distance visual. If Fergus zooms out and comes back to me, you'll see just how far away this leopard is, and so when Hosana lies down and goes onto the ground, it is impossible for us to see him at all. So this road here is the boundary. Unfortunately, Chitwa on our right, Torchwood on our left, and so we can't go northwards. We're just lucky that he's up in the tree that we're able to spot it. But if Hosana moves around and maybe comes out a little bit, we might be able to see him. But from where we are now, unfortunately, it's impossible to see where he is. And I know that's not ideal. Hopefully it would be nice to actually see him and see his little face again, but he's still too far away and too tucked up at the moment. But let's see. You never know. Hosana is a curious cat and he likes to move around, so we might see him kind of somewhere on the ground moving or coming up onto one of the trees somewhere to the sort of sides of where Tingana is. But at the moment, unfortunately, that's the view we've got. There's not much more I can do about it. There is in no way any sort of other way to actually see either of these individuals. Right, well, we'll sit and we'll be patient. Maybe Hosana will make an appearance. I hope so, Joy. So don't go anywhere. And while we sit and wait for the appearance of Hosana, let's go all the way across to Ralph in the Mara, who's got some other spotted creatures, but not quite as pretty as these guys.
Well, I beg to differ, Tristan, because the hyena being top of my list of spotted animals, and yes, they might not be quite as elegant as the leopard, but for me, definitely very handsome all the same. Now, folks, just like this, hyena is resting up, getting ready for the evening's activity. So we also need to head up the hill and go and do our evening chores, because it's come to the end of the day for myself and Archie. We've been out the whole day looking for as much as we can, and it's been a very nice day. Thank you all for joining us, and guess what? We get to do it all again tomorrow. So have a good evening. Don't worry, there's still lots of action to come. We're going to be passing you back to Tristan or Scott. I'm not quite sure, but I know either of them has got all sorts of things to show you and lots of things to tell. So good night, folks, and see you tomorrow.
Right, so I believe that Ralph is starting to make his way home, so hopefully he will have a good evening, and I'm sure he's absolutely loving his time in the Mara. Now, you can see that Tingana still is kind of surveying his territory. No sign of Hosana just yet. I was actually trying to get hold of some of the other guides and just trying to see where exactly Hosana is from where we are, but I believe he's slightly to the east of that tree. So what I might do just now is I might just reverse back slightly and just have a little look. You never know, maybe we get a glimpse of him to see him, but you never know. Other thing that is interesting is straight to our east down this road, is if you follow this road all the way to close to the Kruger boundary, is quarantine is also around. So 3 male leopards within the space of, I would say, 2 kilometers or about just over a mile, and there are 3 of them all placed not too far away from each other. So it'll be interesting to see if quarantine comes from that side and starts moving back in this direction, and whether or not there will be some sort of scrap over this area. I haven't seen quarantine just yet move in this direction. I don't think he's ever pushed quite as far as where we are now, but he definitely is slowly but surely moving and coming this way. So it's interesting to see, and I wonder what's going to happen. I'm just watching the other car just to see where they position, because maybe they can see Hosana somewhere there, and maybe we'll get lucky and be able to see Hosana's head just pop up. There's a vehicle that's just driving in underneath and kind of repositioning themselves to be able to see the leopard in the tree, and I was thinking that maybe somewhere their little ears will just perk up and kind of come out of the grass, and we'll be able to see this little cat as well. I suppose I can't call him little anymore. He's now completely massive and is getting this julep and is developing as a big individual. And we do have new blood on the block, so that's our little one now, is the little cub of Thandi's, and so Hosana and Tamba, I'm afraid, are now going to be relegated into the sub-adult category and are going to be starting to kind of be called and referred to as no longer our little ones, but as our medium boys that we've got. I wonder what sex that little cub is as well. I don't know if anybody was able to work out what sex it is. Be interesting. I'm really hoping for a little female. That's what I'm hoping for, because we really do need females. We've got such a nice supply of males at the moment that another female around Djuma just vanished and we don't really know where she is. It would be just nice to have another little female that comes into the Djuma area, and at the end of the day it would also be the prime age by the time it develops into sexual maturity to take over from a Thandi or a shadow in this area, because both of those individuals are fairly older females and you never know how long they're going to be around for. And so, you know, if you get a female that, well, this little cub, let's say it is a female, and it makes it to 3.5, 4 before it starts to basically mate and have cubs, and so 4 years from now Thandi and Shadow would be, you know, close to 14, 15 years old, which would be very old for a leopard. Now, Monique, you're wondering any news of Tamba? I'm afraid not. The last I heard of Tamba was, just trying to think how many days ago it was, and it wasn't that long ago. It was, I think, about 5 or 6 days ago, maybe even less, I don't know. But the last time I heard of him was with he was with Hosana on a kill together. They were busy sharing a kill, and so he is around, but he seems to be hanging around a lot in the nets and vessels, which is 2 properties to the south of Chitwa and Little Gowrie. So that's where they lie, between Mala Mala and Little Gowrie and Chitwa, and so he's kind of in there, and apparently every now and then crossing just onto that northern section of Mala Mala, which is a difficult section to look around in. I was speaking to one of the guys that knows Mala Mala very well, and he says that area is incredibly difficult to negotiate, and there's lots of rocks and thick, dense thickets, which is perfect for a leopard, and so maybe that's where he's going to be ending up positioning himself. But it's sad that we're not seeing him as much as we were. I suppose there's just so much pressure in this area at the moment that it had to give for one of our young males. Somebody had to make space, and Hosana, being slightly bigger and seemingly so much more brazen and careless, as just, well, not careless, that's the wrong word, but so much more kind of doesn't really seem to care if anybody is around. He just approaches everyone and seems to just drifted southwards back into sort of Mala Mala and those areas. Be interesting though where he ends up. I just hope wherever he goes that I'll be able to follow him, because he is my favourite, and it certainly is sad that we don't get to see him nearly as much as what we did over September, October time, where he was almost a daily fixture for a few weeks. So hopefully he will come back. Now, I'm not sure if our comms are working. I just heard Faith very briefly talking in my ear, which means that I don't know if things are going according to plan, or hopefully they are. It's sometimes our comms get a little bit funny, particularly if I'm under power lines, which I'm under at the moment. These are the main power lines that run from the lodges and supply the power system for Chitwa and Nkoro and Cheetah Plains and the likes to the east of us, so sometimes interferes a little bit. Didn't spot Tingana first. Somebody else spotted Tingana this morning and told me where it was roughly. Now, as we drove up, it was quite clear. It's once you kind of know roughly where you're looking, it's very easy to kind of make out that silhouette from a long way away. And the angle that we're at now doesn't really give it away as much. If you go back down the road a little bit, you see the legs of the Impala dangling very easily silhouetted against the sky. So it's a fairly easy spot, actually. Funny enough, it looks really difficult, but it's actually really easy when you away, and the angle of the tree is slightly different. It's more of a broad side, and so you can actually see that big lump on the tree itself, and that makes it really easy to spot him. So somebody else did spot him this morning, but at that stage we were with the Birmingham males and trying to find Thandi's den, which this morning I was saying that I was frustrated because I don't know where she goes, and well, the answer has been made very clear this afternoon, is that she has a little underground tunnel that she disappears into, and so all the times we've been going there, seemingly she's been there, and we just haven't really noticed. So it's a lesson in that we need to be a bit more patient when we go to places like that, but it's a fine balance as well, because I also don't want to spend too much time there when Thandi's not around and maybe attract any unwanted attention to where that cub is. So you can't really stick around forever, but we definitely needed to be maybe a little more patient this morning, and maybe Thandi would have come out and we would have seen the little one. But I'm, like I say, glad that Scotty is there and being able to experience that. So Sherry from Rhode Island. Sherry, you're wondering what is the average lifespan for a leopard? Well, Sherry, if we look at the female leopards, the average lifespan is slightly longer. So they normally are around sort of 15, 16 years old, maybe, 15, 16 is about the average lifespan. There are extreme cases where females will go close to 20, but that is very extreme, but most of the time 15, 16. And in the males, it's normally around 12 to 14. And the reason why the males are slightly shorter, it's not because they are, built differently. It's more because of the way that their life is. A female leopard gets a territory, she kind of holds that territory, and she has her cubs, and her territory will shift as younger females kind of push in, but she's not as confrontational as what the males are. The males are highly territorial and have a lot of pressure from younger males that are trying to secure places for themselves, and so you find that the males tend to fight a lot more, and that means that they tend to injure themselves and do all kinds of things, and then also become nomadic when they're older, and that means they run into all kinds of other predators that are outside of their territory. So that's why you tend to find sort of the males live slightly shorter. Right, so from Daddy Leopard, let's go back across all the way to Scotty and see if his offspring is still out and about with the beautiful Thandi.
Well, you've got to meet the whole family this afternoon. What a bonus. What are the chances of that happening? And happy to hear Tingana was successful in getting himself a snack. So after the cub kind of disappeared on its own little wanderings, which surprised me, we spent a few more minutes at the den and then just thought, you know what, we've had such a wonderful afternoon there, that it's time to head off and not overstay our welcome. So as far as we could tell, Thandi was still sleeping in a little bit of a cave, and that little cub, I'm not sure where it disappeared off to. So I think we've got a bit of a rebel on our hands regarding that youngster. Not shy to go off on its own little missions. Let's hope it doesn't get caught out on those missions, because obviously there is a risk the further it strays from its mother, the less chance there is of her coming to assist with the rescue mission if need be. So what we thinking of doing now is slowly making our way towards the two male lions that Tristan had a bit earlier, but we don't want to rush there and get there too early. So I'm thinking of swinging past the treehouse waterhole and having a look for any sign of Shadow, which is another female leopard who was lingering around just off to our right. She actually came, we found her basically at the den site yesterday. I just saw something that didn't look quite right. I'm hoping it's a leopard sitting in a tree, but I'm probably getting ahead of myself here. I am. What I was looking at, just so that you all know, is that kind of little upright figure just above my finger there in that marula tree. You see that little upright, that vertical branch there that was broken off? That's what caught my attention, and I thought it was a leopard. But it ain't. But we saw Thandi's sister, Shadow, literally walking away from that den site no more than 50 meters from the actual den yesterday evening. So who knows how that happened, whether it was just coincidence, whether Shadow knows about it, we don't know. Whether Thandi growled at her, we don't know, but she was very close by. Anyway, we left her off to our right, and she could be anywhere in the general area that we're heading into, either on the prowl still looking for a meal, or possibly with one that she's already made. We didn't have any tracks of her this morning though, so no clear indication of where she could be. And she also has a youngster, but it's approaching a year of age now, so not nearly as cute and cuddly as Thandi's cub. But imagine if we find another leopard this afternoon. Thandi's sister's on the cards with her youngster. It will be a very good afternoon if that all comes true. Oh, I'm in trouble. Philip, I haven't had a look at the hyena den yet. I do apologize. It's not because I consciously don't want to. It was merely because I forgot to. Nikki did remind me, but it was quite late in the morning drive, and I just think there's such good prospects at the moment that to go to a hyena den that I've spent no time at. I know you guys have spent a lot of time at. It just hasn't been high up on the kind of list of good options. But I do promise you that tomorrow I will start my drive by going there, if Nikki reminds me. And if I go there first, then I'll have no excuses. I won't get caught up in any distractions along the way. Even now this afternoon, to go to the hyena den, it's kind of on the other end of the property, and then we would be foregoing the fact that we've got two big male lions around. So I do apologize. You only watch in our sunset safari, Phil, because if that is the case, then it would be nice if I went when you were actually watching. So let us know if tomorrow morning works for you. If it doesn't, then who knows, maybe I'll just rush there now. So if you can't watch tomorrow morning, I'll go there now. But you got to tell us quickly. I'm waiting. Actually, let's just go now. Don't worry, Phil. Stop sending that message. We can do the hyena den now, and the male lions towards the end of drive, if we make it there. I'm sure it's not just Phil that's interested in this little hyena cub saga. Basically, what I'm told, I haven't been around that long in this area, but there was a hyena den that was active adults and two young cubs, normal scenario, and then all of a sudden these two young cubs appeared to be abandoned there, and they just started getting thinner and thinner, and then there was only one cub left the last time people checked. So no one's sure as to why the parents abandoned the den and the cubs, or what exactly has gone down, and Philip's just interested to know if there's any finality on the matter. What I do need help with is where about this den site is. So I'm guessing, I think it's on Aubrey's Road, in Oldon of Aubrey's Road, but next, if you can just double check with Tristan for me, please. Hello Mario, you'd like to know if there's any chance a bird of prey could come down and scoop up that little leopard cub? Yes, quite easily. Lots of birds of prey would be able to scoop up that little leopard cub. Even small eagles like a Wahlberg eagle would have no trouble and would quite enjoy a fluffy little leopard for breakfast. So that is a reality, most certainly. Sorry guys, we're in a rush trying to get Phil to the hyena den. Forgive me. And I mean, I wonder how often it happens, Mario, in terms of, raptors taking out leopard cubs. I've never heard of it happening personally, but I can guarantee that it has. I mean, you just think of that scenario there. That leopard cub was fairly out in the open, and if there was a predator nearby, it certainly wouldn't be difficult to latch onto it. Okay, very good. We've just got a confirmation from Tristan saying that it is the den site off Aubrey's Road, one that I do remember from when I was here back in the day. So we should be there in 5 minutes. Okay, Phil, well, thanks for letting me know that it wouldn't have worked if I had have gone straight there tomorrow morning, because you only get back from work 30 or 40 minutes after our drive has started, and we don't want you going back in time unnecessarily, so it's good that we are doing this now. Very good. Well, like I say, we should be there in a few minutes. It's not too far away, and we are going to send you back to Tristan and the father of that cute little leopard cub you saw earlier. Do enjoy.
Indeed. Well, our father is still sitting guarding his carcass as best he can and keeps moving his head, so we try to reposition slightly to get a better view of his head, which was draped over the legs where his paw currently is, but he's now promptly moved his head and is now got it right behind a branch. I'm sure he'll move around again. We're also just trying to see if we moved up and down a little bit, maybe we'd get lucky with Hosana somewhere around there, but we still can't see him. He's apparently just off to the right hand side. He's not far at all. He's about, they say to me, about 15 meters from that tree to the right hand side, but unfortunately there's a fallen over tree that's blocking our view completely, which is that fallen over tree. So somewhere there is where little Hosana is, and hopefully with Tingana shifting in the tree, that might cause Hosana just to come and investigate a little bit, and maybe he moves into this area. There is also a really nice big termite mound where we had Tingana a few weeks ago or month ago, and I'm hoping that maybe Hosana goes up onto that mound, and then we'll have the best of both. We should be able to then see either the young male or the older male, and that will be really, really nice. So hopefully that all plays out into to stay patient in order to see Tingana. In fact, actually, Ferg, can we try one more other angle? Just hold on, Ferg. I just want to try one other angle quickly. Palin, you say you also like sleeping on your food. Palin, I want to ask you a question before. Hold on, let me just position quickly before we get into this, because I want to ask you, Fergus, how's that? Is that actually okay, or better, or not? Have you got a branch, Fergus? That's no good. And if I go a bit more forward, I just feel like there was a nice gap there to his head. So I'm just trying to see. Now, Palin, don't to know. How's that, Fergus? What have we got from that angle? I know there's a few bushes around. Just let me know what we've got. This might be a process of back and forward. Also just thinking, viewers should vote. Viewers can vote. Okay, let's try it. See what we get here. Oh, that's not great. There is not a very good view at all. Right, well, we'll go back to where we were, because that's not great at all. But Palin, I want to ask you, when you sleep on your food, is it more that you kind of unprepared food that you cuddle that's still in the packaging and you kind of use it as a pillow, or is it face plant like Taylor McMuddy that goes face first, or is it like me where you just grab the food and roll, and just so that other people don't get it and fall out of vehicles? And which one is it? I would like to know, because it's interesting to me, because I've never met somebody that likes to sleep on their food. Fergus, do you sleep on your food? No. So I'm not sure about this, and I want to know exactly how it all works. Now, Fergus is telling me to look. Oh, there's a nyala that's coming in. Oh, this is very exciting. Hold on, Fergus. Let's just reposition ourselves. There's a nyala that's going to walk right under the tree, basically, towards where Tingana is. So I want to just go back, because we'll have a nice view on the road itself. This is interesting. I wonder why these nyalas are walking this way. Halen, you say it makes it easier for you to eat when you wake up. Fair enough. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I'm still intrigued as to how you sleep with it. Is it already prepared, or is it just the ingredients altogether that you just... And what is your favorite food exactly, Fergus? That is a good question as well. What is the food of choice that you like to cuddle and sleep with? And like I say, is it prepared already, or is it something that you make when you wake up, or how does this all work? And maybe it's a new way of doing a beauty face mask, is that you kind of sleep with it on your face, and then you can just, take it off in the morning and you can eat it. I really don't know. I suppose there's some people out there that are chocoholics that might dip their face in chocolate, and then they can just break off bits of chocolate through the night and eat that. Who knows? I'm not sure. I don't know of anybody who sleeps with their food, so I am very intrigued by this whole thing. But it is a fascinating concept, and I suppose if Tingana does it, maybe we should all be doing it. I don't know. Maybe we need to go back to our instincts, and maybe sleeping on food is the way forward. Sharon, Hosana is here because Hosana likes to make friends. He's a bit lonely sometimes, and so he tries to kind of just move around, and you'll find that for some reason he just likes to follow other leopards. I've never really seen this in a young male leopard, but he just, wherever there's other leopards, Hosana seems to be there. And I think there's two reasons for it. One is he was obviously left quite early by Kruger, and I think there's this kind of need to try and just sort of bond to various individuals, because he hasn't quite fully fledged yet, and he hasn't quite got this whole process of being a dominant male down pat just yet. The second thing is that I think he sees an opportunity for food, and while with Tingana he's not probably going to get too much, although that's not necessarily true, because we had that amazing sighting of Thandi, Hosana and Tingana on Chitwa airstrip, where all three of them fed in the same area. I think he often can steal food though from Shadow, Thandi, even Tumba to a degree. He can get food away from them, and that's why he's also going there. It's an easy meal, and when he becomes a big male leopard, they do it a lot. I've seen big male leopards robbing countless different females of their carcasses, and like I say, this carcass right here might have even been that situation. So it's an interesting thing, but that's why I think he's here. Is one, because it's an opportunity for food. Two, because he's just a little bit kind of, maybe lonely is not the right word, but he's almost craves that kind of companionship, and I don't think he quite knows where he fits just yet, because he hasn't really been chased by his mom. His mom just disappeared, so he hasn't had a situation where mom has kind of just pushed him away. There go the nyala that we were talking about, into the thicket, and so it's difficult to know. No, I think the nyala is completely moving away now, and oh, this is very interesting. Take care, you say once when you were a student, you fell asleep on a kebab. Was it a chicken or beef kebab, firstly? And secondly, take care, I want to know, had you consumed any apple juice prior to falling asleep on your kebab, or was it just a case where you were so tired from being so studious and doing such a lot of studying that you just passed out on your textbook with your kebab in your mouth? But while you ponder that, take care, and I give you some time to answer. Let's go back across to Scotty D, who strikes me as somebody who would never waste a morsel sleeping on it, and would probably guzzle it all down before it even gets anywhere near to bedtime.
Yes, Tristan knows me well. I do have a tendency to gobble quite a lot of food, especially sweet things after dinner. I've got a very, very weak demeanor when it comes to saying no to ice cream with at least 4 kinds of toppings: nuts, rusk crumbs. Rusks are kind of like biscotti, Milo, which is a kind of chocolate powder that you can make a chocolate drink with. That's very nice. And I like the nutty crunch with the smooth vanilla ice cream. It works quite well. Another topic, you guys were asking about, do we ever run over animals while we're driving around here? And I'm not sure if you've noticed, it was Trista, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but there haven't been too many grocery stores, so that's how we get our meat. Occasionally the slow animals, we are just helping weed them out from the ecosystem, and that's where we get our meat from. Only joking. I haven't ever run over anything. The animals you need to be most careful of are tortoises, because they blend in well to the road and they can look like rocks, and chameleons. So those are your 2 most likely animals to run over, and they're also very slow moving. Everything else can basically get out of the way unless you are flying. A snake would be another good example of an animal you need to be careful of. But no, all of the larger animals can avoid us with ease, and I just think they're not too concerned by our presence, and that's why they sometimes allow us to get quite close to them. Phil, now we've arrived, and it doesn't look too promising at this stage. It's very difficult to be certain without getting out of the vehicle, but I've been using my binoculars to kind of look around and try and see if the earth around the entrances to these burrows has been disturbed. And I can't be certain. Usually at this time of the evening, though, hyena dens would be active. The adults wouldn't have moved off yet. So maybe they've vacated the den, Philip, like you say. I'm not too sure. Senzo was just saying we need to get our act together and find out wherever their new den site is. I couldn't agree more. The only catch is it may not be on Djuma. And with the amounts of walking around both Steph and myself were doing along with Rex and Herbie for the first 2 weeks of this month, we covered and fine-combed most areas of the property. So we didn't find any sign of hyena dens here. So who knows, maybe they've moved off Djuma, but either way we do need to try and work out where they are, because it would be very interesting to know, and they're such wonderful animals to be able to follow the lives of. What I'm thinking... Ooh, here come a whole bunch of impala. They're just being chased by a male, I think, unless the wild dogs are going to come chasing after them. Here comes a zebra too. What is going on? Is that a carnivorous zebra that's chasing them? Let's just drive up to Buffalo's hook cut down. Oh, I thought I saw a wild dog, but it was just an impala. Now, it's hard to be certain what's going on here, but clearly there's prey species running away from something. It could be that they're running away from a male, but then usually you hear the males gargling and snorting. Get back with the herd, youngster. Okay, there's a male impala that seems quite relaxed up ahead of us here. Yes, Sankit, you do raise a good point. Occasionally the odd beetle, ant and other insects will get run over, but I feel that they are not going to be too concerned about it. They will take it as a sacrifice for the greater good of this ecosystem. By having us drive around it, we make sure that all of their cousins have a wonderful home to live in. If we don't drive around it, then none of them live, so it's just a sacrifice, I guess. So now there's a nice open area up ahead. The impala came from kind of straight to the north. Now the tricky thing is when impalas and a lot of antelope see wild dog, they don't necessarily alarm call, they just get out of town as quickly as possible. So we're going to try and do our best to work out if there are any predators here, if those impala are just going for an evening jog. And while we do that, we will send you back to Tristan, who's found some elephants.
Well, we do. I'm just going to catch up with them quickly because our leopards are still fast asleep, and so we'll come back to them. They're not going to go anywhere. With a kill there, we know that they're going to stay there. So let's go and enjoy some Ellie action. They are moving down towards Chitwa Dam, and so maybe we'll even get a little afternoon cloudy swim if we're very lucky. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but you never know. There's sometimes these things happen, and I know Scott this morning at some point said he had Ellie swimming at Buffelshoek Dam. So even though the weather is overcast and cloudy and you would think that ellies wouldn't really be swimming. You never know. Maybe these ellies decide, although they look like they've stopped to feed now, which is against what I thought was going to happen. There's a beautiful female here. So this is the old female that we saw a few days ago. I think it was the day just after TV show, but she's got a nice long left tusk, and you can see she's old because she's got these big sunken temples and really has lost a bit of condition, but she is an incredible specimen of a female. She's got beautiful tusks, like I say, and reminds me a lot of the ellies that we see in the Mara. They seem to have much longer tusks than what our ellies do. There you go, and you can see it almost looks as though the wind has blown too hard while they've been growing, and they've kind of got a little bit of a windswept bend to her left, our right, and she is beautiful. And when I say sunken temples, if you look just above her eye there, you can see just how sunken they are. So that is a really good indication of age. This is a great grandmother. I would say that this elephant must easily be in her late 40s, maybe even 50 years old, which is towards the end of her lifespan. So she's not going to be around for that many years to come. She's still healthy though, you can see, and it almost looks as though she might even be a little pregnant. So maybe this is her last calf, and that would be quite something to see. But you roaming around this Kruger National Park and Sabi sand system, she must have seen the most amazing things, and the stories those feet and tusks and trunk and brain could tell would be just something unbelievable. Because you can see her hips are also sticking out a little bit, all signs of old age, but otherwise she's actually in great condition. Her stomach is still okay, seems fairly mobile, she's not as though she's kind of doddering around and struggling to keep up with the herd. She's in good condition, otherwise legs and feet are in good condition. So it's just probably that her teeth are not that great, and well, this is what happens as age gets us all, and we all start to kind of feel the effects of it. And so unfortunately for her, she's just on the later spectrum. But let's keep up with them. They are still going down towards Chitwa Dam, and so let's just enjoy being in the company of one of the legends of these areas. I mean, it's like I say, it's not every day that you get to meet an animal that's roamed around here for 50 plus years. That's a very cool thing to think about when you do think about it. For me it is anyway. It's a very special thing. But you can see they're slowly going down. The little ones are a little nervous of our vehicle, and this female right at the back, she's kept a close eye on us the whole time. You can see her tail's a little bit stiff, she's kind of wagging it a little bit, and the reason why is I'm pretty sure she picked up the scent of those leopards, because when she crossed or came out of the thicket, her ears were out and staring right in our direction. So I think she heard a nyala bark, and then she maybe picked up that scent, and was why she's a little bit more kind of nervous. So Chica, like, are you wondering if the mother of any of these smaller ellies dies, would the rest take over? Well, it depends on how old that elephant is. If that elephant is already nursed and is out of that phase and is, let's say, a 9-10-year-old elephant, then yes, most certainly it will just stay part of the herd and it will just be encompassed into it. But if it is a young one that is still suckling, then no, they do not allo-suckle each other's young, and therefore you'll have a situation where these elephants, unfortunately, if it was a little one of that side, would probably pass away and would no longer be around. So it's just the way things are with ellies, is that because of the taxing amount that their young take, they can't do two at a time, and they've also got to have young to be able to produce milk and various other things. But they are going to walk the right direction for us. Paul, you're wondering at what age are elephants too old to give birth? So we're just going to stop. You can see their reaction before we address that. You see how both of those two elephants there stopped and they've turned with their ears out, and they are just kind of saying, right, whoa, that's as close as I want you. And that is a very definite sign. So if you ever see an elephant do that and you're in the company of elephants, that's when you turn off and you stop and you just let the elephants comfortably move slowly away from you. They're saying to you, that's close enough, I don't want you any further. And she might come in and just investigate. No, what for? That's not on. Stop. So you see how all the rest are coming now as well. So what she's saying is that I'm not happy with you being there. So all we're going to do is just slowly back up. With elephants, when they're aggressive, is always just to try and remain as calm as possible, and just a slow, steady movement backwards should settle, and we increase the distance slightly, and the Ellies will then stay where they are. Hopefully, she might walk after us a little bit just to press home the advantage and just to make sure that she kind of tells us what to do. But you can see babies to the middle, all the adults on the outside, and they're all facing up to us. And as soon as one went, oh, look at that one, it's decided, no, it's time for a sleep now, and a little headbutt to the ground. So you see we've increased the distance. She's now throwing a little bit of sand, so she's become far more relaxed. And like I say, it's just a slow, steady, gradual movement backwards, and we don't try and force the issue at all. We don't rev, we don't shout, we just try and slowly get out of there with female elephants and their little ones in it. We don't need to pressurize them. We had a really nice view of them, and so we just slowly kind of back up, which is perfect. Now you can see as I'm increasing the distance, watch her behavior. I'll stop shortly, but you can see now she's starting to lose interest in me. She's no longer watching me now. She's starting to kind of focus on her own herd, and soon she'll just turn and start walking away. So we'll stop there. She should be okay from this distance now. So all she's doing is just saying, okay, that was close enough. Now don't you start as well. So this female is also going to start. So let's just comfortable with us, and so rather than pushing the issue, just slowly back out and away from the Ellies and leave them to do their thing. And you can see now that I'm backing away, they're just moving away slightly, and that is the way that you get out of a sort of tricky situation with the Ellies, is that anytime you get too aggressive or you get too sort of brazen and too loud, you're only increasing the issue that the elephant has with you. You're only making them more stressed. So it's better just to slowly back away, and when you have a relaxed atmosphere like that, you see the Ellies themselves, they don't get hyped up, so they just start to relax and they let you go, and everything is fine. Now Matt, you're wondering if that was a warning charge or a mock charge. So elephants don't do mock charges. It's a warning charge, yes. And basically what she said was, she stopped and she said, you're too close. So she turned and she faced me and she said, okay, that distance is far enough. So normally what you do is you just turn off and you try and reduce the amount of sound and also that threat of coming closer. And so once you turn that off, then she starts to sit there, and then she'll say, right, okay, either I'm comfortable, and she'll start then feeding and moving away from you again, or she's going to say, you really are still too close, and she's going to do exactly what she did there, where she's going to take a few steps forward, ears out, and try and intimidate me. The thing is that with a young bull elephant, I would have stood my ground there, because they are just doing it out of a testosterone rush, and they are misbehaving, and they need to kind of know that that we will stand our ground, and that will then kind of protecting them. And if you do not heed her warning, she will keep coming at some point, and she will get more aggressive, and she'll get more agitated and more stressed. So the best thing is just to slowly come out, and then you can see you diffuse the situation quite quickly. Bobby, you're saying you thought you weren't supposed to move away from them. Bobby, like I say, if it is a young male, then no. So if that had been a young male elephant, I would have stood exactly where I was. I would have just maybe clapped my hands a little bit and made him realize that I'm not going to move and that his behavior is not acceptable. But in a case where there's females with young ones, they are indicating that they are not comfortable around their babies, and they won't stop until you move away. So the best thing is just to let them go and let them move. Also, we've seen the Ellies. We saw them nicely in front of us. We had a good look at the older female. There's no reason to stress them out anymore, and you can see how we reversed it, diffused the situation completely. She no longer started chasing us. She didn't really get too aggressive. Her ears were still out, but as soon as we pulled away and we started to move off a little bit and we got around the corner, she completely relaxed and the herd started moving again. So it's just one of those situations, is that you need to be able to read female elephants differently to young males, differently to big bull elephants. So standing your ground is good if it is a young bull elephant, or even sometimes the really big male elephants, but when it comes to female elephants with calves, sometimes standing your ground is completely the wrong thing to do. And like I say, when you're with females, it's also about just staying nice and calm. If you start shouting and you start getting aggressive and you rev your vehicle, all you're doing is making that elephant that much more angry. So it's just starting to get uncomfortable. It starts to feel like there's a threat, and that your response is exciting them and making them more anxious about what's going on. So when you just calm and you just move away, it, like I say, diffuses the situation, and there's no need to be pushing them in any way whatsoever. Anyway, good. So we're now back at our leopard. Hopefully our Ellie will be alright. They'll go down to Chitwa Dam and probably have a good drink and maybe calm down a little bit. Obviously something has irritated them prior to us even going there, because they were already streaming from those temporal glands, but they seemed fairly relaxed while we were parked there. But obviously us following them was just not what they felt like, and so that's why they've told us, and hopefully they stay down that way and don't come back up the side. Also, like I say, could be due to the fact that the leopards are around and they picked up their scent. Paul, sorry, we were almost answered your question as to what is the sort of oldest that they can reproduce before I got so kind of engrossed in being charged at by a elephant. But Paul, I mean, the oldest that I know of females having young ones is in their late 40s. So if you have a situation where they get a little bit kind of older than that, when they start getting to 50, then they'll then start to stop producing. But when they're still in their mid 40s, they are able to produce. And it also depends on the female. Some females are having a situation where they will grow and last a little bit longer. So in the Mara, the average age, I would imagine, is much older than what we have. Reproduce a little bit longer than what the ones down here in the Sabi sands do. But you can see he's just watching in that direction. Now, I don't know where Hosana went at all. He seems to have been somewhere in this general vicinity, and so maybe he's just moving off in that direction. It's also where the Nyala went. So, Kate, who's 78 years old, you say you've just joined us, so welcome to the Safari Live family. It is a family, and hopefully you are loving every little minute of being out on safari with all of us. And as you can see, you've come on a great day, because not only has there been an elephant, which has been quite exciting, but we've also got the beautiful spotted shy cat that is a leopard, and they really are my favorite animals. So anytime I can spend time with a leopard is a very, very big pleasure and treat. And this particular leopard is a little hidden at the moment. He's slightly north of our boundary, and so he's sitting up in a tree, and you can see the two legs of an impala carcass. So he's managed to find himself a meal, and they will hoist them up into the trees like this so that they can get them away from the prying jaws of hyenas and various other predators that we get in this area. And so that's why he's up there. And there is also a second male leopard. So I was talking about Hosana. Hosana is a young male leopard who is the son of this male, this big dominant male called Tingana. And Hosana has come in, and it's because he lost his mom fairly early. His mom disappeared. We don't know what happened to her, and so he's kind of been following other leopards quite a bit. Although he's able to hunt for himself, he still kind of craves his companionship, as well as it's sometimes an easy meal if he kind of follows them around. Sometimes something drops, or he's able to steal it from females now that he's a lot bigger. So he's also in this area, and so it'll be interesting if he does come out. And what we're hoping is that we will get a view of our little prince, because Hosana is part of what we call the royal family here, which was a female leopard called Kruger, who was the kind of queen of Djuma, and she reigned strong for 12 years, produced countless cubs, and was really one of the most successful females probably that I've ever heard of out of any of the cat species. She only lost one cub, as far as I know of, in her entire life, and so she's done exceptionally well to have raised all the rest. And she had in total, I'm just trying to count them now, but she's had, I think it's 12, or is it, I think it's 12 cubs in total. So she really did incredibly well. I'll count them now and just make double sure, but it's somewhere around there that she had. So 6 litters, which is incredible for a female, and only to use one of those is absolutely phenomenal. So that's a little quick brief synopsis of our leopards that we get in this area, and particularly the one that we are looking at the moment. You can see he's got his eyes fixated on something. Like I said, the Nyala went in that direction, so maybe that's what he's looking at. He also could have heard the commotion of the ellies kind of coming towards me, that he might have just looked in that way. Although he's not looking southwards, he's looking more to a sort of northwestern direction, which I would say is probably more the Nyala that are walking around in that area. So Vanessa, you say you've been watching these live safaris for the last 3 days, and you subscribed, and it's become your addiction. Well, welcome to you, and you have joined a large club of people that are all addicted to Safari Live, and including myself and Ferg. The reason we're out here and showing you all of this is because we're also addicted to the concept of being able to bring this to all of you. All the way around the world. Some people that maybe never will be able to get to Africa can still be a part of it, still feel like they're part of a family and to be a part of a story that is greater than all of us is a very special thing. And so it's a very warm welcome to you, and I'm glad 3 days. You've had entertainment not only from animals, you've had entertainment from guides if you were watching yesterday morning, and well, you've also had the most epic few sightings, because yesterday and today have really been spot on in terms of as good as it gets, particularly from the South African side. The Mara has also been fantastic, but here in South Africa, in Djuma, we've been absolutely spoiled by the sightings that we've had over the last 48 hours. So I'm glad that you have joined when you have, and hopefully we will see you on many drives to come, and that you'll ask us many questions as you go along on your Safari Live journey with all of us. Right, now I'm going to carry on with our leopards and see, like I say, I'm going to try and get a visual of Hosana at some point. I'm not quite sure where he is, but hopefully he'll make an appearance. But while we sit here, let's go back across to Scotty Dyson, who's got those two.
We certainly do have two beautiful big mane lions, but they are very, very sleepy at the moment. And that one's just gone back to bed. He put his head up because there's a male impala not too far away that's alarm calling at them, the odd snort. This individual on our left, though, could be dead for all we know. Let's just make sure. No, he is breathing. We can see his belly gently moving up and down. But they are incredibly, incredibly relaxed. Now, by the time I left here, which was about a year and a half ago, I don't think we had named any of these males. They'd just kind of come into the area, and they hadn't all got their own personal identities yet, so I also haven't caught track of who's who just yet. So I'm not sure who these two are, but in the next few weeks and months I will do my best to try and work out who's who, and thankfully a lot of you will be able to help tell me who is who and possibly why they got their names. But what I can tell you is that they've grown into beautiful big males. When they initially staked claim over this area, they were still kind of coming into their prime, you could say, in terms of their appearance. Obviously, physically they were brutes, but their manes weren't nearly as big and impressive as they are now. And sadly, we didn't get to see much of their actual takeover. It would have been a wonderful thing to witness, and it's only something that happens about every 3 or 4 years on average. That would be your average time span for a coalition of male lions to reign dominant for, especially when you've got big coalitions like the 4 of these guys. There were 5 initially. One of them got killed along the way. But the 4 of them, even though there's only 2 here, they're part of a bigger team, will probably be dominant for another year or 2, and then another young coalition will come through and give them a hard time. Okay, so we've got Mfuko and Tinyo. And Mfuko's are pockets. Mutsuko. Oh, Ntsuko. What does Ntsuko mean? I'm looking back at Senzo. He's got a blank look on his face. So it's definitely not Zulu. It must be a Shangaan term, which is the local tribe in this area. So I'm not sure what Ntsuko means. I'm sure some of you will be able to help us with that. Thank you for those of you who have told us who these guys are. Tinyo means tooth, I'm pretty sure. So one of that would be too much. Imagine seeing a lion with a gold tooth. And exactly, thank you for reminding me, Angela. There was one of the coalition members
was named when they kind of first came into the area, and we called him Scrapper. He had some crazy eyes, and he was actually the individual that died, if I'm not mistaken. So sadly he didn't make it through, but he certainly, I remember him coming running into a old buffalo kill that I think the Nkuhumas were feeding on. It took us completely by surprise. I think I was with Jandre on camera. I can't remember exactly, but whoever was on camera with us did well to swing the camera around quickly. And we got I think it actually was Wildebeest, aka VM, which VM is his real name. Wildebeest is his nickname, but that's what we all call him, because he grunts like a gnu when he communicates. And and we got an incredible scene of Scrapper coming, charging in to the kill and sending the Nkuhumas scattering. That was when the Nkuhumas still weren't certain of who these new rogue males. Come on, boys, I think it's time for you guys to wake up. Okay, thanks very much, Isliz and a few others, for confirming that Ntsuko means gold, due to the color of his mane. Very good. Thank you for your help. I do really appreciate it. What I would also appreciate, like I was trying to convince these two old chaps to give us a roar, I'm not feeling confident that it is going to happen in the next 10 minutes, though, sadly. Hopefully they prove me wrong. I'm trying to reverse their psychology quickly, but it doesn't seem to be working. Tristan seems to think that they are going to roar tonight. His exact terminology was roar their guts out, which I thought was quite a good way of expressing how a big male lion does really let rip when they roar, because they really do get their whole body into it, and a lot of it does come from deep down in their gut. So I'm hoping Tristan's predictions are right. What we might do is come out after drive and bring some of the crew that are stuck in their final control, who don't get to get out and get the wind in their hair with us. So we'll maybe come out before dinner and sit here, and maybe we'll get lucky with them. So that's something to look forward to. Hello, Joy in Hong Kong. You would like to know if we have got all the drives archived in kind of date order, chronological order, from when they first started. And they must be archived. I'm almost 90% certain they are. The cameraman only filmed the really impressive bits in high resolution. All of the drives will be recorded in their entirety, but they're not at the best resolution, but I guess it's still decent, and to be honest, I don't really know what I'm even talking about, so I don't know why I'm answering this question. But Joy, they must be somewhere. What we can do is, or what you can do is, if you'd like, you can just send a message to suggestions. I think that's the email address, at wildearth.tv, and you can just ask or /suggest what is the deal. I'm guessing you're wanting to look back on some old footage, but if you generally just type in anything in YouTube, you can typically find a lot of the old stuff that's either be archived by us or by old viewers, but there's not much that you won't find even on YouTube, just by digging a little bit in the history there. So let us know, Joy, what exactly you're hoping to find, and maybe we can try and work out better for you how to go about it. Hello, First Lady. You wondering if I think there's any other coalitions that could be putting any pressure on these Birminghams, or possibly taking their place. And not that I am aware of. I haven't heard any whisperings of any possible threats to them. But, you know, a lot happens to the north of us in a reserve called the Manyaleti, where, you know, we're not too in the loop of what exactly is arrive tomorrow. From the south, within the Sabi Sands, I also don't know of any large coalitions at the moment. But to be honest, I've been out of this area for so long that I'm probably in it's like the Joy's question before on the archiving. Be asking about the ongoings, even in the Sabi sands around us. I haven't been following the movements of these animals too closely while I've been away in Kenya. So Tristan will definitely be able to shed more light on this. He's got his finger in a lot of the gossip pies regarding the animals, and he's got a great network of friends that provide him with a lot of useful information. So why don't you guys head across to him and speak to the professor himself?
Well, Scotty, I don't know if I'm a professor, that's for sure, but I have giggled at listening to you trying to explain archives and whether the drives are all in order. That has been quite entertaining, because I know Scotty and his technological capabilities, he's very good with a lot of things, but understanding computers and archives and those kind of things maybe not the best, nor am I, to be honest. We need Wiem for this conversation, because Wiem is the one that does all of these kind of things and knows exactly how it all works. Now, you might be wondering why I'm just turning around in a circle. It's because I was just checking for Hosana as I'm going, but while we're trying to check for Hosana, because I'm just looking along this fringe to see if I can just see his head, maybe something just to give him away that we can see, but alas, there seems to be absolutely nothing at this stage. So getting into what, oh, there comes another herd of elephants. We're not going to try that again, because the last time I saw elephants crossing there, I got myself into trouble, so we'll leave those to do their own thing. But let's get into the sort of coalitions of lions in this area and who potentially could be a threat to the Birminghams. So the Birminghams have got no pressure really at the moment. There's no male lions currently coming in, roaring, scent marking south, north, east or west of us that really can oppose these Birmingham Boys. At the moment, the Birmingham Boys are far too big a coalition, being 4 of them, and far too strong in this particular section for anyone just yet. That's not to say somebody won't come along and there won't be a coalition that will come in here and maybe give them a challenge. They are going to have their hands full when the Mangen Pride, which I believe was on EP today, and they have 9 males that are just under 2 years old. They're going to be a real handful if those 9 males still stay together. They're going to cause a lot of havoc. So they will have threats at some point, but for now, nothing. They went into Mala Mala. Mala Mala, they had a bit of a kind of interesting time there, because the Matsupiri males were the ones that were dominant there. The Avaka males, which could have also been a potential threat, are only 2. They've gone down to the south of the reserve and are around Sabi, Kirkman's, Lion Sands, those areas. The 2 Charleston boys are also south down there. And then you've got the 3 aging Majingalans. Now, the Majingalans are really getting quite old now, and so they're not going to push back north here for anything. They're going to stay down in the west where they've been, and really they aren't really going to be competition for these 4 Birminghams. The 4 Birminghams are big, bulky individuals now, younger, and so I think the Majingalans, even though they've got experience, would really have a tough time to deal with these 4 Birminghams at this stage. So that means that there's really very little. There's also another coalition of 5 males right down on the southern fringes of the reserve, but the chances of them pushing all the way up to this area is very slim. They're really big animals. They really dominate a massive area, so they're not going to extend that much further. They're pretty happy where they are down on the Sand River. So really the Birminghams at the moment have got a clear run, which is fantastic. We need them to, and so it's a great thing that the Birmingham coalition is not being tested, because it's allowing the Nkuhuma Pride, the Styx Pride, the Torchwood Pride to start to grow again. Telematis as well, for maybe, I'm not sure if their cubs come from the Birminghams, but potentially. It's allowing all those prides to produce cubs and to raise those cubs to an age where they won't be seen as cubs and therefore killed if a new coalition came in. And it's what's needed, because this area has gone under such an amount of strain with male lion coalitions. We had the males in the beginning that, let's say, just start from the Mopojos. We had Mopojo. It's really not a long time for cubs to be raised, and so that's why most of the prides in this area have actually decreased in size rather than grown. So the Birmingham coalition and the reign that they have at the moment is vitally important for our lions, and we need them to go untested for a little while longer. And like I say, who knows what will come out of Kruger? Maybe another coalition will come, but at this stage they are completely unchallenged. There really doesn't seem to be anybody that is capable of kind of pushing them out as yet. Right, well, let's get one last view of Tingana, who's still sitting up in his tree. No sign of Hosana yet. Hosana's keeping us with bated breath. I think he might make an appearance. Maybe tomorrow morning we'll come here and Hosana will be around. It's worth coming and checking tomorrow morning. I don't think we might see him now. I was hoping with all the commotion of elephants and nyala and vehicles that he would come out towards that little gap at the base of the tree, but he hasn't. So Hosana is MIA for now. We know he's there, but we will hopefully catch up with him in the morning. It's a good reason for all of you to come tuning in tomorrow morning as well, because Tingana, I'm sure, will still be there. It looks like enough meat to keep them there overnight, given that he's got a nice round belly as well. Right, well, we're going to probably start heading home, and we'll pass the baton on to the other professor of things that are not technological, Scotty D, to say goodbye to all of you.
Yes, I am the professor of ice cream and toppings. Thank you, Tristan, for that. No changes here, everyone. But to be honest, we've had... Oh, there's a bit of movement. Oh, well done, buddy. Thank you for doing that for us. That was an incredible wildlife scene as the lion moved its head ever so gently in the grass. But we have had an incredible afternoon to be able to see a whole family of leopards in 2 different sightings. Tingana with Tristan up in that tree with a kill, and of course Thandi with, I think, what was an incredible sighting of that little fluffy furball of a cub. Let's hope that everything stays well and safe with that cub, because it is still in a very, very vulnerable stage of its life. At least another 6 weeks' time, we will hopefully have it, 30 or 40% more likely of making it to an adult, and also we'll start seeing it out and about more, and we'll have to be a little bit less delicate when we're around it. And this afternoon was a good start to habituating it to us being around. So it was an absolutely incredible time. For those of you who weren't with us, I do apologize. You'll just have to keep trying to log in or watch the highlights, I guess. But it has been a wonderful afternoon in the Sabi Sands, and of course you also got to explore the Mara with Ralph and Taylor. So all in all, I think it was a great safari, and it was great to have you guys along for the ride. I'm not entirely sure who's out and about tomorrow morning amongst the various crew members, but I know I am, and I'm already looking forward to it. I know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be heading straight to Thandi's den, unless, of course, Tristan would like to go, because it will be his turn to go there, seeing as though it was my turn today. Of course, in an exciting scene like that, we will share the magic. Thanks again, everyone. Enjoy the last few seconds of silence and tranquility. We'll see you next time.